I'm 20 years old now. I'm known as the runner on YouTube. I used to be the vegan runner that everyone knew me as. Pretty much my vegan journey started back in 2015, at the end of 2015, and I was a cross-country athlete. I had got third in my county champs, which is like a state in America. They have states. In England. We have counties. I got third at that, which qualified me for the national champs for cross country. And I didn't do too well at that, but I wanted to try and aim to be a professional athlete. So I was looking for every quick fix, every answer. And what I ended up doing was researching, and I came across veganism. I came across vegan athletes. So I gave it a go, and I decided to create my YouTube channel back in 2015 to document my training, my races, and it also helps a lot with athletes that want to try and get sponsored by a big company or corporation, because then they can advertise the brand to their followers. So I did that. I started making vegan videos, and I started making training videos, and slowly I gained momentum on my channel. And at the same time, my training was all right. It was on and off. So for the first year, I didn't really notice much really change. I was just kind of eating normal vegan food. I was having loads of pasta, and I'd do the thing that all vegans say, where you have to replace the meat with something, which I never really understood. But I'd replace it with like lentils or beans or some other high protein source, and then eventually I got so bored and sick of that dry food that I started buying all the vegan junk food. Like they make all these soy pies with like oil and pastry, and I started enjoying more of that stuff. Um, as we came into 2016, the next track season came round. By that time, I had about five major injuries, and I'd never been injured before I went vegan. Uh, and just to point out, I ran all of my PBs when I was like 14, 15 years old before I even went vegan. And now I'm 20 and I can't even run close to those times since I've been vegan, even though I'm training just as hard and not doing anything different. Um, so 2016 came around. The track season comes around, so I do things like the mile on the track or the 800 meters, and I train for it. And my shin, I end up getting fractured shin. Um, I don't know why, because I didn't ramp up my training or anything, and I ended up having a fractured shin. So it took around about 4 months to heal that. I could barely walk on it properly, and so that was the whole track season just gone. So my team and my club were pretty much like, hang on, where the hell's this guy gone? He's pretty much not even done anything all year. All of my subscribers were like wondering what the hell, why were there no race videos or any like updates on how my running was. Um, and this is where I started to try and make excuses, and I don't really want to say it, but lie to my subscribers on how I felt, how my running was going. And I started to, that was when I started to get really worried, because my channel started to grow. I got to things like 6,000 subscribers and things. And when I got there, I thought, oh, right, it's still growing, but I'm getting worse and slower and sicker. And everyone's just waiting. And all the videos, everyone would comment. They'd be like, come on, we want to see your race footage. And a lot of people on my channel were also top athletes, so athletes that had been at the national champs or regional championships for cross country or track, or were on my team, my county team or my club team. And they were all like friends and they followed me, but none of them were vegan. So it was kind of like I was the lone warrior, and I was trying to go out there and be like, oh, look, everyone, you can do it on a vegan diet. And there I was, just always getting injured. So then I went from 2016, I missed the track season completely from a fractured shin. Then I recovered from that all the way through the track season. I didn't run at all for about 4 months. I didn't race. Then I came back to running. I started training again. Slowly I built up, and I got a fractured metatarsal bone in my foot. So another bone fracture. And again, this one took about 2 months. So this was then took me into the cross country season where I then missed more of that. And this was heading into the 2017 cross country season in January and February. Uh, and I mean, it's just been a never-ending cycle where I say, yeah, guys, I'm going to train for nationals. I'm building up. And then I either get injured, I feel like crap, or something goes wrong. Now, this is where the vegans will say you were doing it wrong. You weren't eating the right you weren't on chronometer. You weren't logging your nutrients. You weren't doing this, that. And this is the thing is I have videos of what I eat in a day. I had experiments where I tried fruitarianism, raw vegan. I tried cooked vegan. I tried literally my dad was so worried because he knew that the veganism literally has so many nutrient deficiencies. He was trying so hard. He was like researching everything. Like he was like, because he's quite traditional, he was researching everything. He's like, can you get all the nutrients and trying to find out. And he was like, oh, he's buying like all these lentils and he was telling me to get all these like different types of red lentils, beans, rice, legumes, oats, organic oats. And so everyone was trying to help me because they wanted me to perform, and it's like all the subscribers were just sat there waiting. They're like, "Oh, already the big build up," and every year it would just be like, and nothing would happen. So yeah, I tried raw veganism. I tried fruitarianism. I even came across some top athletes that inspired me, like Tim Sheaf, who's also been a world champion free runner. And I came across his fasting and things. I agree with what a lot of his philosophy on ideas on the world and how it is. But the things where he did fasting and things, I thought, well, maybe I've got something like a build-up of toxins or from the animal products. So I ended up doing a fast. I ended up losing even more weight. I mean, I've got a jacket on now, but you might have seen in my last video, I just kept losing weight. I literally... I mean, I'm 6'4" and I weigh like 145 pounds. So I'm, I have, yeah, I pretty much got desperate and I tried raw veganism, fruitarianism. I tried, and the last one I tried was junk food vegan, which was where I was eating up to 7 to 8,000 calories a day. I was having, I was making my own chips with olive oil. I was buying burgers. I'd go out to eat pretty much 3 times a week to vegan restaurants with my mate. And I was like, yeah, I'm not eating enough. You know, other vegans were telling me, you're not eating enough. You need to eat more because you're so tall, your metabolism. So I was literally stuffing in food every single day at 7 to 8,000 calories. I was snacking on like these vegan bars, and I changed to a different vegan bar, which is called a Cliff Bar. And I had it, and about a week after eating that, for the whole week, I pretty much had awful diarrhea, and I couldn't, like, my stomach was so bad. And I look on the ingredients a week later, like, oh, maybe it had something in it, and it has like 12 different synthetic vitamins and manufactured minerals in it. And I was like, oh, yeah, no shit, like, of course, my body's getting rid of that. Um, so I was, yeah. So that's it. 2017. We're in 2017. The cross country season again. I have a foot fracture. I did 1 or 2 races where I did absolutely awful, at kind of like my county level to see where I was at, like if I could get selected for the team again. And no, it was absolutely awful. So approaching into 2017 track season, I then got something called an IT band friction syndrome, where my IT band was rubbing against the femur or my knee bone, and it was causing so much friction that I could barely walk on it. So that was another one that I got, which then took more months to heal. It was crazy. So yeah, I've kind of just to go now into 2018, early 2018. This was when I was pretty much saying, right, that's it. I'm gonna be junk food vegan. I'm gonna eat as much as I can. I'm gonna, just make smoothies. I'm gonna blend up 30 bananas. I'm gonna pour sugar in, and I was literally spending so much money. I was literally spending probably 80% of what I earn on food. And my parents were even buying me tons of stuff as well. Like there's this vegan ice cream you can buy, there's vegan biscuits. And I was literally just piling it in. I was probably crapping about 4 times a day. Then I got into the distilled water about last year or a year and a half ago, and I was distilling my water because I know that the tap water is really poisonous and it's got toxins, the normal tap water. So I was drinking loads of that without realizing that I was pretty much flushing out all the nutrients by drinking all that. So yeah, and any other things I noticed was my skin started to deteriorate, like psoriasis all over my legs, my stomach, my teeth. I had braces 2 years ago, which did leave me with some stains where the metal things were implanted. Um, but it got really bad, and I just thought my teeth never used to be like this, my skin never used to be like this. I've lost loads of my old friends because I literally have serious depression. I'm always anxious about things, and I never had that state where I was relaxed, where I could look forward to races anymore. It was like I had that intense pressure of having to perform and to prove to my subscribers that veganism is the way and you can do it as a vegan and save the animals. Um, so yeah, that was just a brief like timeline, but to kind of summarize it all, now I am I'm on day 4 now of not being vegan. Yeah, the benefits haven't been like that. I haven't like clicked and been like, whoa. But what I've noticed is my skin is when I shave, I used to like have bumps everywhere and like acne, underlying bumps all over my skin. And I don't have that anymore. It feels like it's smoothing out a lot. And another thing is, for instance, when I would go to sleep at night and I'd wake up in the morning after like 8 or 9 hours sleep, and I'd wake up and feel like I hadn't slept at all, as if I was still tired. And I just realized that in the morning I feel it's not a huge difference, but I do feel as if I actually feel like I can cope with the day. Whereas before I felt like I was just really struggling along. And my mum used to say, she was literally like, Brandon, you're 20 years old. You should be in your prime. And you're like, you have a bad back. You're getting all these injuries. And she couldn't understand why, because she was more supportive of the veganism than my dad was. He was more questionable of it. Um, and I was like, well, I don't know, because I was in that state constantly where you think as a vegan, oh, it's something else. It's, I was grounding myself barefoot 2 hours a day in the garden, thinking it was the 5G or the Wi-Fi. I was doing some insane things to try and heal myself, and it wasn't working. Nothing was working. Nothing would change how I felt. I was taking a vitamin C supplement, a B12 supplement, a vitamin D supplement. Then I started taking a vitamin B12 spray for the mouth. You just spray it in your mouth. About 5 hours after taking that, my throat's literally got swollen and I had all these white patches and ulcers in my throat and mouth. And it took me a few days to recover from that. And I, again, like the bars, I then look at the ingredients of the B12 spray and it's got like some aluminium metal in it. I was like, what the hell? I have a problem where I just do it out of desperation. I do things, or I did things out of desperation to try and cure my suffering because I was in a lot of pain and suffering mentally and physically. And I just wasn't happy. So I was doing all these things, rushing and scrambling. To now being on day 4, and I've had things like rare steak. I've had raw butter from unpasteurized cows, and I'm trying to. There's only 2 farms in my county that do raw milk, and they're about 40-minute drive away. So try and go out one weekend, just see what that's like. But other than that, on day 4, I feel different. I do feel different. I can't explain. You won't really understand unless you've been vegan and then you change. For instance, when I had my first egg, I got a huge erection. And I couldn't. I was like, "What the?" And I was like, "What's going on here?" You know. I was just literally, sat scrolling through Facebook, and I had, I think it was something like crappy. I literally had eggs on toast on the first day, with some of the raw butter, and I was like, I literally started feeling really, I don't know, I can't really explain it. It's like energized, or as if something that I needed, I got back in, and my body was like, yes, eat this, you idiot. Why haven't we had this in 3 years? Um, so yeah, and another thing, I've been watching a lot of Frank, I think it's Frank Tefano, the YouTube guy, Carnivore, and he talks about facial like development and jaw. And since I went vegan, I always had an overbite, but it has got extremely bad to the point where I had I can't actually touch my teeth on that side. It's so my whole jaw is literally um, it's like bent. Pretty. That's the only way to describe it. Is it's bent. So literally my teeth are permanently touching this side, and I can't even touch. There's like a gap this big from where my teeth can't touch on this side, and that affects my sleep massively. And it was just interesting to watch Frank's videos. I think it is Frank Tefano.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and he was saying about how certain nutrients and development of the facial structure in the jaw, and how I pretty much was breathing through my mouth all night, which would have made my jaw form outwards more and become deformed. And I always had a constant blocked nose as well. It's just these things that I just couldn't really cope with. It was just getting too much to the point where I really was deeply depressed that nothing would help. I would have friends all around me saying, "Come on, let's go out and get some vegan food. Look, here's a vegan pizza, free vegan pizza at this restaurant. Let's go and get it." And I'd go and I'd literally just feel like sleeping. Um, and up to date, um, I did a race last weekend. I was still vegan then, and that was when I was at my illest. We took about an hour to drive to a race in Basingstoke in the UK, and it was a Hampshire League, so it's quite a high standard race. It's got a lot of Team GB athletes in the race. Um, I started the race. By mile one, I was in about 15th, 20th place, feeling good. And then I just hit like something. And it wasn't as if you do exercise and you get really out of breath and your muscles are burning. It was a different kind of pain because I've been an athlete since I was about 13, 12, and I can tell when you hit your limit, you get the burning, you get the breathlessness, you get the kind of burning in your muscles from the lactic acid, and your body's just screaming at you. It can't get enough oxygen into the body and use it properly. So and it was different. This kind of pain that I was getting was I would hit the first mile or the second mile, and it would just be like a complete fatigue. My breathing would stay the same. My muscles wouldn't be burning, but I literally couldn't hold the pace. My body would just, and I ended up finishing, I started in 15th for the first mile, and I ended up going back to like 195th. And I was literally just walking the end part, and everyone was, it's humiliating because a lot of people know who I was in the community. They watch my channel, and there I was, the vegan runner claiming that I'm getting, that veganism is the way for athletes. And there I was getting beaten by, some of the older guys at the back. And I was like, yeah, that was the turning point for me that I thought, right, screw this. I've been humiliated enough. I've been like, I've been pretty much just deceiving people about how I felt and how veganism truly was treating me. And that's it. That's when I made that video. And I mean, I was shocked. The response that I've been getting are amazing, literally. I think someone did maybe bot the dislikes because for nearly all the comments are positive. People, even vegans, are like, "Oh yeah, we support you. We were just here for the running videos." But for some reason, it has like 500 dislikes. So that's a bit confusing. I know people like Dune Rider have commented on it and pretty much just come out with hate and on his
Oh, Durian Rider commented because he actually buys likes on his videos, so that could totally be possible.
He, Dune Rider was another one for me. He was a big inspiration back in 2015 when I went vegan. He was one of the ones I was watching, um, and he kind of, I got into the whole high carb sugar. I was putting sugar all over my cereal. I was pouring sugar in bottles of water to take with me to training, and now I look into it. I've seen the series that the people have created about him, and I mean, I don't really want to comment on it, but because I know if you do that, he will literally try and delete your channel. I think I found out of a lot of vegans is I cannot really name names in terms of vegan channels because they will literally file lawsuits. They will try and take your channel down. It's like when I was vegan, the meat eaters, the other side, they still respected me. Whereas now I'm no longer vegan, it's like the vegans absolutely hate me. And friends I used to have, who I was close with, they all of a sudden messaged me out the blue saying I'm an animal abuser, I was never vegan, I'm an idiot, and they block me on Facebook and they just say they never want to see me again. I mean, that kind of tells me
Yeah, the
a lot
true
of,
face of veganism.
yeah.
I wanted to ask something. I noticed that your arms are quite hairy. Is that genetic? Did you always have it?
Yeah, I am really hairy. My dad's hairy.
Okay.
I have, yeah, I'm very hairy, especially my legs. It got to the point where I had to start trimming my legs because it was literally looking like a head of hair.
Hmm.
And I had a full mustache at the age of 11,
Okay,
so
okay.
I shave every day. But my parents, they were saying that as a child, they gave me some hormones as a baby because they thought I had cystic fibrosis. So I think they kind of injected me with a load of testosterone and different hormones,
Hmm.
and it kind of fucked up, and it gave me tons of hair. So yeah, it is annoying, but it's something that I can deal with, and I got it on my back as well. I just trim it or pluck it or whatever, but it is annoying.
Hmm. What do your parents think about you quitting veganism?
Uh, my parents are pretty relieved, to be honest. I've also got a younger brother who does football, and he was always saying, that he thought, they were all saying it to my face. Look, you're getting slower. You're always getting injured. You're depressed. Um, Try changing your diet. And I was like, no, no, it's because I'm not on distilled water. It's because I'm not adding pink Himalayan salt to my water for the minerals. Um, and eventually, and the funny thing is now, because I've been doing a lot of research on how pasteurization and what they do to all the milk in the UK, and now I'm trying to get raw milk and having things like that. That they're like, oh, whoa, whoa, calm down, don't go the other way. uh, so they are kind of like smack bang average family standard diet kind of people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Why do you think vegans always blame something else? It's never the fault of veganism when they get sick. Is it a mental issue or is it because it's more like a religion or what is it?
I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that a lot of the people we see who are vegan and they kind of get seriously ill are the ones that have YouTube channels or they kind of promote it or make money from it by selling nutrition plans, personal training, and they cannot just kind of come out and be like, oh, yeah, guys, I'm not vegan anymore. When all of their followers are vegan and they've got to maintain this kind of image that if they break it, then everything ruins. I mean, for instance, you saw with Tim Sheaf, he said when he made the video about eating salmon and eggs, his company Ethics had a huge drop in sales and people started attacking it. Of course, they were all vegans that attacked it and kind of boycotted it.
Hmm.
So I think if you're just a vegan and you try it yourself personally and you're quite low key in your life and you don't go telling everyone, it will be a lot easier for you to just quietly go back to having animal products. But if you're someone like me and you had thousands of followers and you were documenting everything and you had loads of vegan friends, vegan followers, then it's hard to try and just blame it. It's you try and find any other excuse apart from the veganism. That's the last reason that you want for why you're ill. kind of thing, if you get me. It's,
Mm.
yeah.
I noticed that your Patreon account has 0 followers. Is it a new account or did you lose them?
Yeah, I was getting about $150 a month and I lost them. So
Fuck.
yeah, I
That's really
mean,
messed
man,
up.
I don't want to mention any names, but if you, the two big YouTubers that do the street interviews vegan, I was very new. I was following their channels when they were very new, when they had like literally a few thousand subs. And what I've noticed is it's really weird is it just blew up out of nowhere and all of a sudden I think one of them's getting up to 8 grand a month from Patreon. I'm like, who the hell's funding them this much? Do you know what I mean? And they have all this like camera equipment, professional
I
stuff, travel
probably
around.
know who you mean, and they said themselves that they are employed.
Yeah.
So obviously there's people who back it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And for in terms of vegan athletes that I was looking up to, there's only really one top vegan runner that I knew of at the time. And he was running nearly at a world level, but he'd only been vegan for a few years. And since 2016, he's got slower and he pretty much quit competitive running now. And he's doing like some crazy trip around the world, driving about in his car, camping and stuff.
Mm.
So, and I mean, I look at other vegan athletes and it's just a bit, you know, it, if I go to a cross-country race or I like going round and I like asking people, so what's your diet? Like the fast athletes, I'm a bit annoying. They don't, they think I'm a bit annoying because I go up and ask everyone, what's your diet? What do you do? None of them are vegan. None of them are vegetarian. They all eat meat. So
Mm. Where do you think veganism comes from, and what is the future of veganism?
if I said the truth, I put myself in danger.
Okay.
Because I know, you know, I know I've had stuff I say in the past gets my channel in trouble. Yeah, a lot of, you know, a lot of
Yeah,
people won't
sure.
know, but
You can say whatever you want. You don't have to say.
um, yeah, without, I mean, the normal people watching this, if I said the truth, they'd kind of discredit me and be like, you're a loony. Um, but I think it's definitely what I think is going to happen is it's going to absolutely blow up. It's going to become a massive worldwide thing. Um, you know, there's pretty much the indigenous tribes are pretty much non-existent now. They've all been pretty much eradicated and pushed off their land or given land to live on, closed off reservations and nature places. So it's like this constant. We're all everything's upgrading with the 5G, how we're living, the diets, and it's definitely, if you look at who's funding it, how much funding it's getting, the coverage it gets in the media, it's just going to blow up, and it's done nothing but get bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. Um, and I think I mean, the dangerous bit is when these street interview guys go around, they're bringing the ethics as their main argument. And when you do that, the whole animal abuse side is when they're going to try and start talking about this kind of stuff in governments and law and parliaments and kind of allowing animals to have the rights. So then it becomes illegal to eat meat or illegal to hunt. Well, it's already illegal to hunt pretty much everywhere anyway, but even here in the UK, I said to my dad, "Oh, can we go fishing?" And he was like, "Well, we need regulations, permits, training, because literally everywhere, the lakes, the rivers, a lot of them, they have like these enforcement officers that go around checking the fishermen if they have a paid license to fish there, and it's like crazy, like the amount of control now and regulations and yeah, it's insane, and no one questions it. They're just like, oh, this is normal, you know, it's good.
Mm.
So that's where I see veganism going. I just see it exploding, continually growing, everyone just yeah, that's where I see it going. Is it's just going to get bigger, 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 bigger. All the major food chains have now got vegan options, where about 4 years ago they didn't. So it's literally made a massive jump in about 2 or 3 years. Um, and yeah, there are ex-vegans that come out and talk about it, but I mean, if you compare the vegan community on YouTube compared to the carnivore community, it's like nothing. The carnivore community is so small compared to the massive, massive vegan community. So yeah, and I mean they've got people like Dr. Greger for the science, and in the live streams he does that treadmill thing, and he says on his intros he goes through all the medical journals every year, and picks the most interesting ones so you guys don't have to. It's like he even admits he cherry picks it all. So it's, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I think. So it's going to explode. It's going to keep growing. And I think eventually it's going to become a worldwide norm.
Hmm. Do you regret veganism now, or how do you see the whole thing?
100%. I'm 100%. I've missed 3 years worth of where I could have been getting stronger, fitter, and more competitive as an athlete, and I just pretty much degenerated my body, made myself weak, and I've now got to spend months bringing back the nutrients and rebuilding myself. Because running on its own is extremely stressful, and it pretty much is a catabolic state where you're eating your body, and it's endurance. All the top Kenyan runners are pretty much anorexic. They look like they come out of a starvation camp or something. Um, so running by itself is extremely stressful, and you're pushing your body to the limits. But to then go vegan and limit all the nutrients, you're just asking to die pretty much. And a lot of the athletes that tell me I was doing it wrong, they weren't. I was running up to 100 miles a week, 90 miles a week on average. So I'd wake up and run 10 miles in the morning, and then in the evening I'd run another 3 or 4 miles, because that's what the elite guys do. And yeah, it was. I was suffering so much.
Hmm. If you could give a message to every vegan on Earth right now, what would it be?
Um, it would be eventually you're going to hit that rock bottom where your body starts to eat itself. And the reason that it only took me 3.5 years to get to that point was because of the amount of training I was doing. If I was sedentary, if I sat down all day and played computer games, I reckon I could have lasted about 10 years on a vegan diet. But because of my lifestyle where I'm training really hard and I'm doing lots of endurance running, I pretty much, I mean, even more than halved that time frame where I was training so hard, that I sped up the damage pretty much. So I'd say, um, I mean, why not? Give it a go if you want. Give veganism a go. If you're an athlete, give it a go, and I guarantee you that if you're vegan and you're running better than ever by 2 or 3 years, please contact me and let me know what you're doing, because I tried every single way. I was the vegan runner. I was the one in that community, and I was getting all the help I could. I had doctors, vegan doctors. I had other vegan people telling me about personal training and nutrition, and whatever I did, nothing helped. So on my channel, I'll just be documenting my recovery, and how my training and racing goes in the next few years. Now back on eating meat, and trying to eat more raw animal products like raw dairy instead of pasteurized and the standard kind of average diet.
Hmm. Anything else you would like to add? Any experience, any symptoms you had, or something you learned from it?
Um, I mean, I could write a whole list out of symptoms I had,
How
and
was your digestion?
yeah, it was horrendous. I was farting all the time.
Hmm.
Um, like my family they would literally, my whole family they would say, "Oh, there's a vegan fart," and they had that saying that because it smells worse. And that is, I don't want to go into too much detail, but that's one massive thing I've noticed is when I go to the toilet now, it pretty much doesn't smell. I'm like, hang on, have I been? It doesn't smell anywhere near as bad as it did. Looking back on it now, I pretty much had diarrhea for 3 years. I literally had no idea. Yeah. Um, so yeah, my digestion was horrendous. It really was. Um, I'd go on runs and yeah, yeah, I won't go into detail, but it was really, really, really bad. Um, I mean, yeah, there's so much stuff. I put it all up on my channel.
Mm.
I couldn't name it all now, but there is my skin. Um, just yeah,
Yeah, people
man.
can watch the video for
Yeah,
more
I think
information.
mental health was the main one for me because I was freaking out so much. I would go for runs and I wouldn't be able to run over a few miles. It was that bad.
Mm.
I'd be exhausted, and so yeah, that's really all. Yeah,
Okay, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
yeah. Thanks for letting me on, man.
Mm.
Yeah.